Also, this type of like projection of like your own, BPD, mental illness or whatever, like again, it's never ever ever an engagement with what I say. It's always it's always this weird trying to guess my motives or guess like my underlying emotional state. Having to engage with Destiny, even the slightest way, has been the most unpleasant, weird experience I've had in this alternative political media space. I've disliked Destiny ever since I realized he primarily uses obfuscating tactics like red herrings and interruptions to win debates at the expense of clarifying topics through civil disagreement. I bet I'm the only debater in the history of all of online debate. If somebody has a link to it, I'd be curious. Where at one point in time I was saying like, hey, listen, if I say anything you disagree with, feel free to cut me off, like ask me to clarify. If there's ever anything you disagree with or whatever, just like stop me immediately. We can figure it out. I think I'm probably the only person that's ever done that. I'm probably one of the only people that like take notes while I debate so that I can keep track of what's being said so that I know what to respond to. I feel like there are so many things I go like above and beyond to try to avoid this type of but I always get accused of it by these people, but probably because they're just projecting them doing it on me. So they can't imagine like a world where somebody doesn't do this. Now that he's repeatedly insulted Jake and me simply because he watched a video where he disagrees with us on a topic he only started discussing when it became the current thing, I've had the displeasure of realizing my instincts were more accurate than I knew. First of all, regardless of whether I've started following it on his current thing or not, yeah, I wasn't a scholar on Israel-Palestine before it was like a huge political topic. I'm not like a scholar that studies things in depth unless it's like part of the news, right? I do politics and current events. So yeah. Also, she started following this as well when it became current thing. I tweeted out like a series of pictures on that. Like she literally started doing this. After October 7th, I joined many others by instantly aligning with the Zionist position. I hadn't thought much about the Israel-Palestinian conflict before, so my first time ever seriously considering it was spurred on by the horror of that massacre. I felt a visceral disgust that made me sympathize with Israel, a country I knew little about, and feel contempt for Islam in the Middle East, a religion and region I already held negative associations with. I'd never seen footage of Israel's attacks on Palestinians, nor the conditions they lived in. I was a blank canvas. Like, okay. But like, I don't even care about that. I don't, like, if you just started to learn about something, who cares? Again, like, hit, like, what am I wrong about? Or find what the person's wrong about. Destiny watched our video and then did something eerie but subtle. He used the exact sentiments we expressed in our video against us. Okay. In this quoted post, he repeats a point Jake and I make in our video about intellectual humility and not arguing with strangers about issues you should instead be learning about. He does this in another tweet too, where he waxes poetically about not caring when people are incorrect, just when they're incorrect but present themselves as experts instead of learning and growing. I said this almost verbatim in our video. Does Destiny seem like someone who genuinely believes this? Like, you stupid dipshit. I've talked about this for years? Like, what? Like, there's so much footage of me on the internet of me talking about this. Does Destiny really think that, like, matching your conviction with the amount of information is like, what? Destiny has never shown care about people speaking responsibly on an issue, or he wouldn't have started speaking about the Palestine-Israel conflict when he did. He's a live streamer, someone who talks about things they aren't an expert in for a living. So I parrot my own sentiments back at me when you don't believe them yourself. Except the difference is that when I started approaching this topic, I think I did it with a lot of humility. Now, people will say like, oh, well, you've made statements, blah, blah. Yeah, but I'm always open to being wrong. I always bring on other people who are willing to debate on things, and I'm always open to corrections. Like my community posted a ton of feedback. I ended up reading through a ton of shit. I had a lot of people with disagreements on my stream who wanted to have arguments with me. I have had emails. I've interviewed experts. I've, participated in conversations across like so many different formats. I didn't like pick an opinion and then become resistant to literally all outside information and stick with it forever. Like, that's the difference. This is called mirroring. It's a behavior people with autism, personality disorders, or other psychological problems perform, sometimes as a means of gaining control over people or a situation. I didn't even really read this that much. Wait, this is so stupid. What? I thought mirroring, does this mean like being reflective in conversation? Also, personality disorders, why would you group all of them together? People with personality disorders do this. What kind of personality disorder are you referring to? Like, there are quite a few of them. Also, autistic people, I feel like autistic people have difficulties with like understanding other people's emotional states or intentions. So the idea that an autistic person would pick up on a person's pattern and then mirror it back to them seems not necessarily true. But Mirroring is the behavior in which one person subconsciously imitates the gesture, speech pattern, or attitude of another. Okay. I've never even heard of this term before, but okay. It's not the same as necessarily being reflective. Sometimes as a means of gaining control over people or a situation. Okay. When I first came across Destiny, it was quickly clear to me, as someone with a background in psychology, red flag, that something wasn't right with his behavior, especially when she says background in psychology. That means she didn't go to school for it? She just like read a few Psychology Today articles? It was quickly clear to me, as someone with a behavior in psychology, that something wasn't right with his behavior. I think Destiny doesn't actually know what he believes. I don't think he even knows who he is. I think he hides behind obsessively arguing random sides of different issues because he doesn't have a well-formed personal belief system. I think he's been warped by the feedback loop his live streaming has created and has lost himself in his debate persona. Like, I know, because if you've ever engaged literally with any of my content whatsoever, you would know none of these things are true, right? Like, I'm pretty... You could probably find videos where I've literally said, like, Destiny describes moral foundation. I'm pretty sure I have videos with stupid charts and everything, questioning my moral system and political position. I don't think that you should ever... Shut up! Like, I've literally, like, gone through, like this before to try to figure out, like, oh, well, like, here's, like, a fundamental moral position. Like, here's how I look at the applied area of it. Like, here's, like, the rationale from going to A to B. This is straight projection. Or it's some kind of mental illness on her end. Like, this is unbelievably wrong. It's so crazy that she would describe something that's like so clearly, obviously, and just completely incorrect. It's also clear that he has deep-seated anger issues because he regularly flies into a rage on his stream over small things and uses politics and debate as a way to obscure what would otherwise be obvious emotional problems. I scream at people when they piss me off, but again, the majority of my conversations are pretty chill. Like, that's like the vast majority of my conversations are really chill conversations. When I'm watching videos of people being stupid, yeah, that triggers the fuck out of me. I don't like when people are dumb and when they're confident about it. It triggers the fuck out of me. But I've kept my criticism of Destiny myself, but now that he's repeatedly insulted me, I'm happy to be honest about what a damaged person he is. Like, bro, I said you were evil, I said you were stupid. Like, everything that I'm talking about was in response to stated political positions that you guys gave. And then I was critiquing these, like, along the way, like, oh my God, it's so dumb that they believe this. You have to be evil. I know they look blah, 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 blah. And, like, the response is, oh, well, since you insulted me, I'm going to talk about how I think you're secretly autistic and all of your motivations are untrue, and my partner's going to invoke your divorce, I guess, about blah, blah, blah. Like, what? This man is unwell, and all of the people who exploit him for views instead of doing their due diligence to figure out who they're inviting on their shows are contributing to a sick culture by which young people who think the way he behaves is desirable will be the biggest losers. Holy... It's just crazy, like, she wrote all this to not engage substantively with a single point that I made at all, and it's just so much projecting and undermining, and Jesus Christ. Destiny, what do you mean she did engage with you on her diagnosis of your mental illness? Based. Are people just lazy? No, I think that it's what's happening is confusing the normative with the applied. So she sees that I have certain applied positions, and because she hasn't done any of the work to get at her applied positions, she has to imagine that I'm coming from a deranged moral foundation. And then as a result of that, what she's basically giving is an analysis of, like, how can somebody be so sociopathic, essentially, right? So since I disagree on the term genocide or apartheid, it must mean that I'm in favor of mass death and starvation for Palestinians, but somehow I'm marketing myself as like a reasonable person while being pro-genocide and pro-apartheid and pro-concentration camps. So, like, the only way that you can make sense of this is the person just has to be, like, deeply sociopathic. There's either some insane amount of mental illness going on, and obviously he's lying. Like, he must be lying about all of his intentions, because how can you be pro-genocide, pro-murder, but then also say that you are you're like a reasonable person, or you try to do research? Bullshit. There's no way, right? It's the I think it's that applied normative confusion, I think, is what's happening here generally. Looking through her Twitter, she is constantly pathologizing people in groups. That type of a woman. Yeah, it's a person thing too. The thing is, remember, when you pathologize other people, it means that you never have to seriously engage with anything they say. It's an easy way. Remember, for cognitive dissonance, you change your mind or you change the facts, right? So this is a form of changing the facts. Oh, well, that guy said something that I can't really reason with or I don't understand. Oh, well, let's just say he's crazy. Boom, easy. Like now you don't have to seriously engage with anything that they say. To be clear, it's not always bad to undermine particular people, especially if you've already researched their positions in the past. Like if I saw something from Dr. Robert Malone, I would probably just not believe it out of hand. I might do more like research if it's like a thing I have to debate or whatever, but because I've already done enough to see like, okay, well, this guy's clearly not credible in these arenas. He's prone to making up information here. Like it's not always necessarily a bad thing to do that. There are reasons to not trust people, and you can't provide infinite trust or charitability to everybody. Although ideally you're verifying everything, but.
Appreciate that, Destiny.
All right, bye. Remember to hit that like and subscribe, and don't forget the notification bell so that my videos show up right in your feed.